Okay, it's 11 o'clock where I am, 8 a.m. Pacific time, so I'll get started. So I'm Kristina. Thank you for this opportunity to lead a gentle grounding Hatha class today. You might wish to grab a couple of props. I'll be using 2 foam blocks. I'll also be using a folded towel and a cushion. So if you have any of these things or any other props you might wish to use, you can grab those now. You can also do this entire practice without any props, but you might wish to use them just to add some comfort to your practice. When you're ready, we'll begin today in child's pose. So coming down onto the mat in a tabletop position to set up, big toes together, knees can stay together, or your knees can come wide. Inhale, and on your exhale, sinking the hips back toward the heels, heart melts down toward the mat, forehead coming down. You might wish to stack your fists to lift your head up, or place one of your blocks under your forehead. Find a place that feels good for you, allowing the arms, the shoulders to relax. Taking some slow, deep breaths, allowing yourself to arrive in the present moment for practice today. And on your next inhale, begin to slowly walk your hands back towards your knees, rolling up through the spine. Head is the last to lift. Come onto one foot, feet come in front of you, moving into Sukhasana, easy pose. You can have your legs crossed or just fold one shin in front of the other. And you might want to sit up on a prop. I'm going to sit on a cushion today. If you're sitting on a prop, just coming right to the edge, just to allow your pelvis to tilt forward, your knees to come down. And taking a moment to shift side to side, feeling your sit bones rooting down into the prop or the mat, engaging the core and drawing up through the crown of your head, imagining a nice long line from your tailbone through the crown of the head. You might bring blocks under one or both knees if that's more comfortable for you today. I invite you to close your eyes if that feels good for you, and take a moment to bring the attention to the connection of your body to the mat. Feel your sit bones rooting down. Feel an evenness through both sides of your body. My hope is that today's practice will help you let go of any feelings you might be having of insecurity, anxiety, or worry by practicing a series of grounding postures and bringing some mindful gratitude into our practice as we move. So grounding can help us feel more stable, more secure. Mindful gratitude can help reduce anxiety and increase our confidence and sense of security by reminding us of the people and things that we have in our lives to appreciate and connect to. I invite you to take a moment to thank yourself for showing up to practice, for taking care of yourself. And just notice that feeling of gratitude as you thank yourself. If your eyes were closed, gently fluttering them open, we'll invite some movement into the neck with some half neck circles. So just gently bringing the chin down and around. Nice, slow, controlled movements. And coming back to center. On your inhale, shrug the shoulders up towards your ears and sigh as you bring your shoulders down. 2 more times. Inhale, shrugging the shoulders up, and sigh, bringing the shoulders down. 1 more. Letting it all out on the sigh. Hands come to your sides, pressing into the mat. Left palm pressing into the mat. Inhale, lengthening through the spine. Exhale, right arm sweeps up and over for a side body stretch. As you come into this side body stretch, just be mindful that both sit bones are continuing to connect with your mat or your prop. We don't want to be lifting up. So just coming as far into that side stretch as makes sense for your body. And on your next exhale, coming back to center, pressing down through the right hand. We'll inhale. And on the exhale, left arm sweeps up and over, feeling this side body stretch. Once again, rooting through both sit bones, thinking of your neck, your head as an extension of your spine so you're not flopping down. Inhale, and on the exhale, returning back to center. We'll move into staff pose, Dandasana. I'm going to turn sideways on my mat, bringing your feet out in front of you. Feet are flexed, toes pointing toward the ceiling. Engaging the legs, thighs rolling in slightly. You might bring a block or a folded towel or blanket under your knees if it feels better to have your knees bent. Your legs don't need to be straight. We want to continue to think about rooting down through the sit bones and having a long extended spine. Hands pressing down into the mat at your sides, shoulders down away from your ears. Breathing slow, deep breaths. On your next inhale, arms sweep up overhead, and exhale to fold forward from the hips over your thighs. Hands can rest on the mat or your legs, keeping your spine long. Gazing just past your toes toward the top of your mat. Notice the sensations you're feeling in this fold with a flat back. If this feels good, you might stay here, or you can begin to relax the upper body, rounding the spine. And noticing how any sensations might change in your body. On your next inhale, rolling up gently to an upright seated position. And we'll bring the soles of our feet together, knees wide, in butterfly pose. Hands resting gently on your ankles or your feet. And see what it feels like to have your feet closer to the pelvis or further away in more of a diamond shape. Find the spot that feels good for you. Engage the core, drawing up through the crown of the head. We'll inhale, and on the exhale, beginning to fold forward with a flat back, gazing toward the top of your mat. And you might enjoy staying here with a flat back, or once again, you can see what it feels like to round through the spine, letting the head be heavy. And one more slow, deep breath. And on your next inhale, rolling gently back up. Your head is the last to lift. Remove any props that you have under your seat or under your knees. We'll move into a tabletop position. So in tabletop, wrists are directly under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Your toes can be, your feet can be flat, top of the feet pressing into the mat, or your toes can be tucked. Just find the position where you feel the most stable. Your fingers are spread comfortably wide, fingers gripping into the mat, taking pressure out of the wrist, or you can come to fists if that feels better. Wherever you are here, imagining a nice long line from your tailbone through the crown of the head. On your inhale, we'll lift the tailbone, drop the belly, coming into cow, gazing straight ahead or slightly up. And on the exhale, tucking the tailbone, rounding the spine, gazing back toward the thighs, to cat. Inhaling, lifting the tailbone, looking straight ahead. And on the exhale, tucking the tailbone, rounding the spine, gazing back toward your thighs. We'll do a few more rounds here of cat-cow, just at your own pace. Inhaling to cow and exhaling to cat, leading the movement from your tailbone. And on your next inhale, meeting back in a tabletop position. We'll set up for downward facing dog. If it's better for you to stay in a tabletop position, you're welcome to do so. And you can also come into child's pose at any time throughout the practice if you feel you need a rest, or you can come into any position that serves your body. For downward dog, we'll grip down through the fingertips, tuck the toes, inhale to engage the core, and exhale to press the hips up and back, coming into this upside down V shape, downward dog. Hips are pointing up, your thighs pressing toward the back space, heels coming down toward the mat. They don't need to touch the mat. Your knees can be as bent as you need them to be. And keeping a nice soft microbend in the elbows. We don't want to lock joints. Armpits hugging in. 3 deep breaths in downward dog. On your inhale, right leg lifts, exhale, knee toward the chest as you step your right foot through beside your right hand. Left knee lowers to the mat. You might bring your folded blanket or towel under your knee if you need a little cushioning there. In our low lunge, we want our right ankle directly under the right knee. Left toes can be tucked or flat, pressing the top of your foot into the mat. We want to feel really stable here, so take a minute to just find the position where you feel most stable. You can be here on your fingertips or bring your blocks in to lift the earth up a little. Right hip rolls back, left hip forward to square the pelvis. And you can stay right here, focusing on your breath, focusing on your, noticing that strong base. Or we can inhale, arms come up overhead, palms join together as we exhale, hands in front of our heart space. Find an unmoving focal point to set your gaze, help stabilize you. We're continuing to hug everything in toward the midline so we feel centered and strong. Inhale, and on your exhale, hands come back down to the mat. Move your blocks. You can move any props, tuck your left toes, lift your left knee. Inhale, and on the exhale, step your left foot up to the top of your mat, coming into a forward fold. Your hands can be on blocks or on the mat. Feet inner hip width distance apart, toes tracking forward, and letting your upper body be heavy here. Knees can be as bent as feels comfortable. And on your next inhale, begin to just slowly roll up, rolling up vertebra by vertebra. There's no rush, just moving nice and slow. Head is the last to lift, shoulders come back and down, arms at your sides, palms can face forward or in towards your body. We come into Tadasana, mountain pose. Really notice the connection of your feet to the mat. Press into all four corners of your feet. Notice if your weight is distributed evenly through both sides of your body, through all corners of your feet. And imagine the energy from the earth coming up through your feet, lifting all the way up through your body, through the crown of your head. Your tailbone is lengthening down, crown of the head lengthening up. So we feel grounded here in Tadasana. On your next inhale, arms reach up overhead, palms facing each other. And exhale, hands come back down at your sides, landing on the hips. Bring your weight into your right foot and step your left foot back about 1 to 2 feet. We're setting up for pyramid pose. Think of your feet as being on 2 tracks. This will help you find some more stability. Toes are pointing forward, pelvis squared toward the top of your mat, shoulders down away from your ears. And think about your shoulders stacking over your hips so your spine is nice and long. Notice the connection of your feet, really pressing through both feet. This is what's going to help give us stability in this pose. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, and on the exhale, you can begin to fold forward from the hips, just coming down as far as makes sense for you. You could stay with your hands on your hips, just coming down halfway, or you can continue placing your hands on either side of your foot or bringing your hands to blocks. Continuing to square the hips, Inhale, lengthening the spine, and on your exhale, you might fold down a little further if that makes sense for you. Keeping a micro bend in that front knee or bending it quite generously if that's better for your body. We don't want to lock our joints. On your next inhale, hands return to the hips, engage the core, and exhale, strong back coming back up to stand. Take a moment to breathe, center yourself, and on an exhale, we'll step back up to stand at the top of the mat in Tadasana. Arms at the sides. Inhale, arms sweep up overhead, palms facing one another, shoulders plugged down. And on an exhale, we'll begin to bend the knees and send the hips behind you into the back space, coming into chair pose. Just come down as far as makes sense for you. Your arms can stay up, or you might bring them in front of your heart space or down to rest gently on your thighs. The weight is more in your heels, really rooting down through the heels. One more deep inhale. And on the exhale, coming back up to stand. Inhale, arms sweep up overhead. And exhale, bending the knees, folding forward from the hips, coming into our standing forward fold. Bend the knees, plant the palms, and we'll step back to downward facing dog. Hugging the armpits in, bending the knees as much as you'd like. You might want to pedal out through the legs, find some gentle, easy movement if that feels good. And we'll set up that sequence on the other side. So on your next inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, knee comes in toward the chest as you step your left foot forward. Right knee comes down to the mat. Toes can stay tucked, or you might flatten the foot. And once again, we'll set up our stable base here. Left ankle is under left knee. Hips are squared, left hip rolling back, right hip rolling forward. You can have your fingertips on the mat or bring your blocks in at any height. Hugging the thighs in toward the midline, engaging the core. You might just stay right here, noticing that connection to the earth, focusing on your breath. Or on our inhale, we can engage the core, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, palms join together and come down to the heart space. Focusing your gaze, finding your center. Inhale, and on the exhale, hands return down to the mat. Let's move the props aside. Tuck your toes, tuck your right toes, lift your right knee. Inhale, and on the exhale, step the right foot up to the top of the mat, coming into our standing forward fold. Once again, bend your knees as generously as you'd like. You can bring blocks in here to lift the earth up to you. Breathing deeply, noticing the sensations in your body. And on your next inhale, slowly rolling up to stand. shoulders back and down. Tailbone lengthens down, crown of the head lengthens up, your ears over your shoulders, shoulders stacked over the pelvis, toes tracking forward, and once again feeling that connection of all four corners of your feet to the mat. If you're feeling nice and stable in Tadasana, you might close your eyes for a moment, or you might just soften your gaze. And I invite you to just call on a feeling of gratitude for yourself, for your body, which is carrying you through this practice. Notice that feeling of gratitude. If your eyes are closed, gently fluttering them open. Inhale, arms come up overhead, palms facing. And exhale, hands sweep down to land on the hips. Setting up for a pyramid, bring your weight into the left foot. Step the right foot back about 1 to 2 feet. You can be have quite a short stance here, or you might make it a bit longer. Feet on 2 parallel tracks, toes forward, feeling our shoulders stacked over the hips, keeping a micro bend in the knees, rooting down through our feet, feeling a strong base. Inhale, and on your exhale, begin to fold forward from the hips, just coming down as far as makes sense for you, where you still feel secure and stable. Hands can stay on the hips or come down to frame the foot. You might bring in your blocks. Spine is nice and long on the inhale, lengthening, and exhale, you might come down a little further. Continuing to breathe deeply. On your next inhale, engage the core, hands come to hips. Exhale, coming up strong with a flat back. And centering yourself. On your next exhale, stepping back up to Tadasana. Hands come to the sides. Inhale, arms reach up overhead, palms face each other, shoulders are down away from the ears. We'll inhale, and on the exhale, bending the knees, sinking the hips into the back space, core is engaged, spine long, as we settle into chair pose. Once again, your arms can be up in line with your ears, or your hands might come down in front of your heart space, or come to rest on your thighs. Rooting down through the heels. And on your next exhale, pressing back up to stand. Arms come down to the sides. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, folding forward into our forward fold. Plant the palms, step back to downward facing dog. Once again, it might feel good to find some gentle, easy movement here, maybe rocking your feet back and forth, pedaling it out. Or you might enjoy finding a bit of stillness here, bending your knees as generously as you'd like. On your next inhale, begin to slowly lower your knees down to the mat. We'll take a moment in child's pose. So toes together, your knees can stay together or come wide. I'm going to keep my knees together this time and bring a block in for my forehead. So inhaling and then exhaling to sink the hips back, lowering the forehead, the chest down to the mat or a block. Arms can stay out in front of you, relaxed, or you might bring your hands down beside your hips. Focusing on your breath, noticing where you feel your breath, noticing how you feel. If your hands are behind you, bring them back out in front. And on your inhale, just walking the hands back toward the knees as you gently roll up. Come onto one hip, bringing your feet out in front of you. We're going to be coming down to our back. So just come up to the top of your mat a little more. And we'll come down nice and gently. You can use your elbows to help you get down. And as you settle onto your back here, keeping the soles of the feet on the mat, knees bent, snuggling the shoulders down. You might tilt the pelvis a little to feel the connect of your lower back to the earth. We'll be setting up for bridge pose. So ankles are under the knees, shoulders snuggle down, upper arm bones rooting into the mat. Neck is neutral, gaze is straight up, fingertips reach toward the heels. For bridge, you are welcome to stay right here, just noticing that connect of your feet, your upper arm bones, the shoulders, the back of your neck. Or on your inhale, you may begin to press into your feet to lift the pelvis up, just coming up as high as feels good for you. Knees are parallel, our thighs are parallel. One more inhale. And on the exhale, slowly rolling down vertebra by vertebra. Coming back down to connect with the mat. Take a moment to hug your knees in. Your hands can be on your shins or the back of your thighs. If it feels good, you might just rock side to side a little. Soles of the feet come back down to the mat and walk your feet about as wide as the mat, letting your knees drop in to touch. Hands can rest on your body or just at your sides. And take a few deep breaths here. We'll be moving into Shavasana. If there are any other movements your body is asking for, you can do that now. And we'll meet in Shavasana, legs extended long, feet about as wide as your mat, toes coming out. Your hands can rest on your body if that feels good and comforting for you, or arms at the sides, palms facing up, shoulders snuggle down. You might bring a folded or rolled blanket or towel under your knees, or if being on your back isn't for you, you can come onto your side in a fetal position, or you can come up to sit. Find a spot that is relaxing for you, where you can let yourself fully relax. As you settle in to Shavasana, I'll guide you through a short mindful gratitude meditation before we find silence and rest. Allow your breath to be natural. There's no need to change it. Just notice your natural breath rhythm. Notice the feeling of the back body contacting the mat. Notice the feeling of the front of your body sinking down toward the back body as you relax. Notice where you might be holding tension or clenching. Notice that feeling of tension, and then try to relax those areas completely. How does this feel? Once again, notice your breath. Where do you feel your breath in your body? Notice the feeling of the inhale. Notice where the breath goes. And notice the feeling of your exhale. Notice any emotions or thoughts that may be coming up for you. There's no need to judge or to change these. Just notice that they're there. Notice and return to your breath. Now I invite you to bring to mind a person or something that you're grateful for. Anything at all that comes to mind is completely okay. Or perhaps several things come to mind all at once. Visualize this person or this thing that you're grateful for. Notice that feeling of gratitude. Where do you feel this in your body? Know that you can always call on this feeling of mindful gratitude at any time. As we come into silence for the remainder of Shavasana, you might choose to hold on to the noticing of gratitude, or you can let go of the meditation, feeling grateful that you've taken care of yourself today, and allowing your body to rest completely for the next few minutes in silence. Start to bring awareness back to the body, deepening your breath, wiggling the toes, the fingers, maybe moving your head from side to side. When you're ready, bending your knees, placing the soles of your feet on the mat, and just rolling over onto one side, resting for a moment in a fetal position, perhaps using your arm as a pillow. And when you feel ready, using your hands to press your body back up to a seated position, joining me back in Sukhasana. If your eyes aren't open yet, gently fluttering open the eyes. We'll bring our hands together to touch in front of our heart space in Anjali Mudra. I'd like to leave you today with a quote from author and psychologist Robert Holden. The quote is, "The real gift of gratitude is that the more grateful you are, the more present you become." I hope that you're able to take these feelings of groundedness and of mindful gratitude off the mat with you as you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for sharing this practice with me. Namaste.